What's up, y'all? It's 10 at 3 time at Tennessee. How are you? Hope you're doing well here on this Wednesday, January the 21st, 2026. Coming to you live, as always, almost always, I think always to this point, right here from WBR's world headquarters, as we have decided we're going to call it, from the 10 Streaming Center, which I'm legally not allowed to call 10 Streamafeller Plaza because life is unfair sometimes, and that's just how it goes. But it's a good day. It's a cold day, and we're monitoring, obviously, the weather going into this weekend, which could impact Tennessee athletics in some way, and also could impact what those of us in this room are covering this weekend. Because
we'll see how that plays out.
If you learn anything about TV news, it's everybody's on deck when it snows. Everybody's on deck. We got, again, we're looking at in our Todd, Cassie, all our weather team. They're fantastic. They're looking through all this. They're updating everybody as much as they can, not getting everybody too worried or too nonchalant, or just kind of keeping it right down the middle, trying to be on top of everything as they will be, and we will all be a part of that. If some of those models are as bad as they say, I'm guessing we will all be doing that. Roll up the sleeping bags. We're crashing here at the headquarters. Not just me today, joined by Lord of the Streams Tom Barclay there in the back, and
howdy,
and Miss Emilie Ray Cochran right here with us. How you doing today, Emily?
Good. I'm excited for this snow coverage. I have been at WBIR for almost 2.5 years, and I've never not been a part of it.
It's a tradition at this point.
It's a tradition to make sure everybody in the building is covering some kind of snow coverage. So no sports, unfortunately, but we'll make the most with what we've got.
And I haven't cleared this with the boss yet, but there's a couple things. One, if the snow approaches a foot, and definitely if it supersedes a foot.
It looks like it's going to.
Actually, there's been some changes.
What you got back there, Oscar? What you got?
The snow totals apparently have kind of diminished, but that's not necessarily good news.
Because that means more ice.
Because it means more ice. It's
which
looking
is
like
more
the
dangerous,
system
honestly.
has shifted a little northward, which means we could be in for a very. They're calling it lasagna.
Who's calling it that? Todd
that would be our folks in our meteorologist.
See,
Todd
but if it goes
Cassie.
that bad, then I'm going to hate lasagna forever now, and I love lasagna, and they can't.
But it's all three. It's the snow, the sleet, and the ice. So
well,
get ready if that.
That's almost a worse situation than
yes.
just having.
Yeah,
I mean,
ice storms are the absolute worst.
Yeah.
Yes, they shut down cities for decent periods of time. So, but my point was I was thinking in terms of strictly snow being around a foot, but if it's like more than 6 inches of this lasagna, I have a Viking hat, and are you
gonna wear it?
I will take it with me out to do coverage. Now, if something serious is going on, obviously I will remove the Viking hat and I will do some serious reporting. But if we're just sitting there and there's some kids sledding, I'm going to go in there and sled with them and wear a Viking hat. And I mean, I won't bring the sword, obviously, but I'll just keep that part at home.
Yeah.
But I got a Viking hat, and I think I might wear it.
It's interesting when they put sports people on snow coverage, because essentially we're just the reporters' photogs for most of the time. So you get paired up with someone, you run their live shots, you kind of stay behind the camera. Last year I was with Mike Simon. I think I might have told you this story. And he offered to bring me lentils at the live shot.
All right.
It was very sweet.
Fresh legumes.
Some lentil soup for a cold day.
Hey,
and
curry lentil soup is fantastic.
Yeah, and Mike Simon is a great dude.
Mm-hmm.
Had such a blast with him last year. I think the year prior, I don't remember who I was paired. Oh, Aaron Velasquez. Todd, remember?
I remember Aaron.
Aaron. Yep, we were at the airport. That was fun until midnight. Yeah, so we ended up sleeping at the station that night, and it's fun. You pop up some board games. You set up some air mattresses, and
Elijah and I are bringing the PlayStation. We've already talked about.
Yeah,
this.
where are you guys going to set
Switch.
that one up?
I don't know. I got the TV down here in my office that they just put in, or our office that they put above my wall, and I could hook up the Switch to it. We could have a Mario Kart tournament, so we can we're gonna make this work. But I've done this before, not for TV, but as a one-man bureau before, working at the Chattanooga paper. If any sort of bad weather was going on in Knoxville or something big happened, they'd be like, you have to go. Go figure that out, go write something about this, or, I'll cover the SEC tournament, obviously, when the tornado hit. And so that became the story pretty quick down there that night. I remember walking around, and actually I met Don Lemon that night because he was out there outside the CNN building down in Atlanta.
Random.
And I was walking around, and I was like, hey, there's that guy. And so, yeah, it's just kind of funny how things go. I mean, obviously it's not a funny situation, but it's interesting because we are, at the end of the day, I guess, reporters, no matter what. And no matter what it is, we got to go report on it. So, this is, hopefully everybody stays safe. Hopefully everybody gets their milk sandwiches. And I would seriously recommend that everybody go this time. Sometimes we freak out when we really maybe don't necessarily need to. I would be prepared for this one just in case.
I would be prepared to. They're already putting out the winter storm warnings for folks, and that's usually a good sign that we're going to get something at the very least. It may not be as intense as it seems right now. That there's still 3 days.
Well, yeah, but
hopefully
the plateau at least spares us a tiny bit. But this system is so big, I don't think it will.
Nope.
But I mean, we got plenty of time to do that. I just wanted to make sure we were doing our PSA up on the top.
Yeah,
because,
we'll be out there in the trenches this weekend, so it'll be a fun time.
And I would hope that people have some sort of weather app on their phone that sends to us. Obviously, you should have the 10 News app and the WBIR Plus app, and if you have those, you will get your weather notifications that way as well. But just in case somebody doesn't have those things set up, go get those things set up. Be prepared. It's just a little PSA, little reminder. Not everybody who listens to this or watches this show obviously is in East Tennessee, but most are in this Southeast region at least. So it's
coming.
So
for
it's
a lot
coming.
of states.
It's coming.
Yeah.
It's big. So we got a lot to talk about in this show. We're going to talk a little bit about obviously J.P. Estrella. Emily, who is in here with us, did a wonderful story sitting down with J.P. Estrella. Played a fun game with him. We're going to get to that. And before we get to that, we are going to talk about the situation with Charles Bediako. If you remember that name and you're an SEC basketball fan, you're not crazy. You're not crazy. You do remember. You're like, have I heard that name? Yes, you've heard that name. He was a center for 2 years, a 7-footer. Played at Alabama for 2 years. Left after his sophomore season 3 years ago, and didn't get drafted. Did play, signed a couple of NBA two-way contract type deals, but never played an NBA game. And he basically now is going to get to play college basketball again.
Yeah, went from the G League back to
Crimson
Tide.
And if you've been following this story, the kid at Baylor, obviously coming in from overseas, despite being a first-round draft pick at some point, never played in the NBA, and then now he's going to go to Baylor. And they tried to make this little rule where if you're an international, you could do that, but not if you're an American because the rules are different. And I said at the time, this is going to last about a month because there are absolutely going to be a string of guys who are American or other guys just in general who want to take advantage of this rule, and they're going to sue, and the NCAA is not going to be able to stop them. And so he got an injunction. So it's not a permanent ruling, just like the Pavia situation last year was an injunction, not a permanent ruling. And they're still, he and Aguilar and others are still waiting on that situation for their future potentially. But with Bediako, he did get the injunction. Aguilar did not. Bediako gets it. He will basically, despite being a professional for the past 2.5 years, he didn't play in the NBA, so they're saying he can come play for Alabama. So we'll see if he can get up to speed and get playing. But he's been in the G League, so I'm guessing he's in shape. And I mean, the other day he was, I saw a video of him guarding Hunter Dickinson in a G League game like last week or whatever. And so it's like, all right, well, here you go. And so
it's a present for Tennessee, right? It comes right on their schedule. Right in time for the Vols to play Alabama, one of the biggest rivalries in college basketball. And you mentioned, it's not permanent. I think the court hearing is January 27th. So
Correct.
I think that's 10 or so days where he's eligible to play for Alabama, which is just funny because it's like, if you're Nate Oates, are you going to make that decision to play him?
100%.
Even if you don't know if he's going to be able to play the rest of the season. Is it worth, kind of cheating the system a little bit to get a win on your record? Super interesting to think about. But yeah, it just, to me, doesn't make sense. Obviously, you mentioned Aguilar not being able to have the opportunity, Bediako getting this opportunity. It just feels very wishy-washy, kind of proves that the system and the NCAA is a little bit broken in a way. And it's definitely funny that it also lines up right in time for this game against Tennessee. That may or may not happen due to the weather, so we'll have to see. Yeah,
we'll see. Maybe the weather gods will put their stamp on it and say that they don't approve of this. I don't know. We'll see. But I think what's interesting to me, I want to be careful how I say this because I think this is a bad decision.
No doubt.
I don't blame Charles Bediako one bit for trying, because as soon as this situation at Baylor happened, I don't blame anybody for trying. It's not like it's immoral or anything. And really, I'll say this laughingly, he's only, I think, 23 years old, which is
a year younger than I am.
Let's
put that into perspective. It's not a normal collegiate age to play
it's not,
a
but
sport when you're 23. I'm sorry. It just is ridiculous. It is mind-boggling.
The times
to me.
they are changing.
I say only 23 in jest because, I think what's Pavia, 25 or so, and I think this season Joey Aguilar was 24, and so I've seen there are guys who are like 26 and something still playing. And again, if you go do your 2-year LDS mission and come back, that's different. I've never really thought that was the fairest thing either, because you get players who are older than everybody else and more physically advanced and smarter and all those things that men are dumb, but between the early and mid-20s, sometimes you get a little smarter. And so I think I don't think this is the right decision at all, but I hope that, like, Bediako himself doesn't get the heat for this, because all he's doing is taking advantage of a rule or a loophole that exists to go back. And it's not like he's 35 years old. He's 23. And I'm not saying it's okay, because I don't think it is. Mm-hmm. But that's my first thing, is I don't blame Bediako for this. And the second thing I would say is, legally, I'm not a lawyer. There's many things I'm not. Lawyer's not one. I'm not a lawyer. But the argument made by Bediako's lawyers, I think, even if you don't agree with it, it's not like it's irrational. It's a sound argument, even if you don't agree with it, that if he had known 2.5, 3 years ago what NIL values would skyrocket to, because you're talking about the Nico case going the way it did, you're talking about unlimited transfers, you're talking about finding ways around the rev sharing and loopholes. If he had known financially what the deal was, he would not have gone in the first place.
Yeah, but that's just the way times have changed. I mean, I feel
I
like
agree.
A player who, 10 years ago can't just be like, oh, let me have an opportunity at this now, because, things have changed. Like, I get that he's 23 and he's just like a few years removed, but any player can make that argument. Any former player can make that argument. So it just doesn't. I feel like if it was less time removed from college basketball, it would make a little bit more sense. But he's been gone for 2.5 years. He hasn't played college basketball games since 2023. Yeah. It just feels like it's too far removed from the world of college basketball for him to just insert himself back in, especially for a really random time frame, 10 days until his court hearing, and he doesn't even know if that will be a permanent situation. So yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but I just think it has gone so far off to what traditional fans and people just expect. I mean, you think about also like college basketball fans from years ago, and things are just changing and evolving. Like I'm even thinking about this from like a 24-year-old's perspective, and it's crazy. So I can't imagine someone who's been a college basketball fan for so long and all of this kind of just unfolding and being so different from what it used to be.
Yeah, I think my issue with this, and again, I want to be clear about this. I don't think that Bediako should be allowed to play. I don't think the young man at Baylor should be allowed to play. I don't think Diego Pavia and Miles Kitzelman and others should have been able to play last season. I don't think Joey Aguilar should be playing next season. That's my opinion on that. Now, being responsible, I will say that when you look at Bediako's argument in particular, I think it is at least something worth hearing. And I think if we want to have fair conversations about this, you have to say, yes, 3 years is not a super short period of time. It's what I'm trying to do the math here. It's a X%. It's a significant percentage of this young man's life in terms of years on this earth.
Yeah, I mean, but he chose to move on right when I got this job, so I've never covered a game with this kid in the Crimson Tide.
And but I think legally, then you get into a situation where you're like, okay, where's the line then? Is it 2 years? Is it 1 year? Is it 3 years? And what's really the difference in 2 years and 3 years? And then when you do that, what's the difference in 3 and 4 years? And at some point, this situation becomes so foggy you can't see anything. And there needs to be crystal clarity on this. And I would have thought that declaring for a draft, getting professional checks, I thought that would have been a pretty clear red line. Now, for whatever reason, it's not.
Yeah.
But okay, if that's not where the line is, let's find the line. Let's find the line. Everybody get in a room and nobody gets to leave until you come out and tell us where the lines are, and then people can start adjusting. Because you can't toothpaste does not go back in this tube. This is a different era. We know that, and it's going to be. And if you don't accept that, you're just not. I hate to say this, but if you can't accept that, then you probably ought to find something else to do because this is not changing. But there might still be a way to at least draw where the lines are so everyone can know that and adjust to it.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the frustration is nobody knows. I mean, it's going in so many different directions, and it's falling into players. It's working in their favor and not working in other players' situations. And so I think that's where the frustration from the fans comes from. Is like, okay, well, what about Joey? What about Zakai Ziegler last season? What about he was looking for those special NIL opportunities in his 5th year. Why couldn't we give him, an extra year? So I think you're right with the lines. And I feel like also mentally, just aside from the NBA and the G League games that he played, like all of that removed, I just see you haven't been in college basketball. You haven't been associated with college basketball for 2.5 years. That enough, like my brain just signals that that's an issue. I don't know if that makes sense, but
no,
like
it does.
since like literally haven't played in a college basketball game since 2023, that I feel like that should be enough to. I mean, that is enough for people to be like, "What the heck is going on here?"
I think, and I think I can probably end the segment with this. I think it gets really difficult when you start to think and have a real conversation about when you really boil it down, who had a better argument. Bediako or Zakai Ziegler? Who had a better argument? Because Zakai Ziegler did play 4 years. Now, one of them was ended early because of an ACL tear, but it happened late in the season. But he also did not get NIL opportunities. Imagine if he'd been able to play for Tennessee this year, how much cash he would be making. A lot. And not just from Tennessee, from legitimate NIL opportunities around the region, around the country potentially, an underdog story. So, yes, he did get to play technically more college years than Bediako, but he never tried to leave.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like it feels different, and you almost want to root for the players who haven't left yet.
Yes.
Like it just feels worse when you remove yourself for so long and you try to come back versus this Zakai Ziegler situation where he was off for all 4 years and is just trying to stay before he has a chance to even leave.
And that's where it gets really tricky, is who really had the better argument there, because both of them were denied NIL opportunities because of timing. But I mean, on one hand, Bediako didn't get to play 4 years, but on the other hand, he chose not to play those other years. So it's not, when you break it down like that, it gets really difficult, and that's why these lines need to be clear, because this is just kind of, whether it's fair or unfair, that's not for me to say. It's just unfortunate that we don't know, and there's no clarity, and the people nominally in charge of this can't agree or figure out what anything is. So at some point, just tell us what the rules are. Just, like if you start a race, you want to know, am I running 100 meters? Am I running 200 meters? Is this a mile? Is this a marathon? Is this an ultramarathon? What is this? Where's the finish line? What are the rules? Can I tackle the runner next to me? Can I trip them? Do I get to sip water at some point during the race, or do I not? Like, what do we get to hold weapons? What are the rules? No one knows. No one knows. It's wild. But we got a lot more to discuss, including a 7-footer who there are no eligibility questions over Tennessee's J.P. Estrella. We will discuss that because Emily's done great work on a story with him recently, and we're going to show that to you right when we come back.
All right.
Secret time.
Secret time.
Secret time. 2 minute secret time.
Yeah, 2 minutes. Our YouTube audience.
Yeah.
It's we got 2 minutes of hot mic secret time.
Hot mic secret time on YouTube.
Oh.
Our folks on WBR Plus are watching an ad right now.
So we still have to watch what we say.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely. YouTube audience out there, don't clip this.
Yeah, so we do have to still, I can't, say some, you don't want to be out there speaking like a sailor or a construction foreman, but we get to, we get to, just be casual and say that I am fascinated. I do feel for Zakai Ziegler a lot.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
But it's when you sit there and say which guy has a better argument, I don't know the answer to that, but I know that for whatever reason, his case went the way that it did, and Bediako's went the way that it did. And then I've got the other thing that we can't get around here is we do. This is a judge from Tuscaloosa making this ruling, and so I think. Again, I don't know that man or woman could be an Auburn graduate for all I know.
Well, we've already seen
courts
and judges having differing opinions on how this plays out.
Yeah, like the Duke issue with the quarterback there, Mensa, who's been sued by Duke because he's trying to get out and go to Miami of his NIL deal. The judge in that case is a Duke graduate, season ticket holder, and booster. So he came out with a ruling that said, "Listen, I'm not going to grant an injunction here. I'm just passing this to somebody else." And I'm recusing myself entirely from this case. So, I don't know the situation of what's going on. I just know that when it comes from a judge in Tuscaloosa, you're like, okay, I do have questions.
Right before a Tennessee match.
I do have questions.
After the way that game went last year in Food City Center with the Jemai Mashak buzzer beater, it just is definitely interesting timing.
It is.
I don't think that has anything to do with it. It just is ironic.
It is. And what else is ironic is welcome on back. I don't think it's ironic that we're back because it was scheduled. It was scheduled for us to go back.
Sorry, WBR plus viewers.
Listen. I'm sorry to WBR. I'm sorry to Alanis Morissette. I'm sorry to everybody. Sometimes you try to make a transition in your head on the fly and it just works, and sometimes it's just not there. Sometimes there is no there, and that's one of those times. But where we did have a there. Here's a transition.
Yeah,
was with Emily doing a really good story on Tennessee sophomore big man J.P. Estrella, who has had a journey the past couple of years, had some injuries, came in as a touted prospect. Now, he wasn't the number one player from Maine in his class because a fellow by the name of Cooper Flagg was there. So normally Estrella would have been the biggest deal in Maine in a long time.
Yep. Close second.
But Cooper Flagg's there. So, sorry, bud, you're second. But still a big prospect. He's had a lot of things going on. His attitude for Tennessee throughout all this has been really good.
Yeah,
and you got to sit down for a while with him. We'll go ahead and play the game really quickly of how well he knew his teammates, and then we'll come back and discuss that and much more about J.P. Estrella. But here's the really good work, really good story that Emily did on J.P. Estrella.
We're going to play a quick game.
Okay.
Because I feel like you'd be the perfect person for this game.
All right, bet.
So this is for you.
Deal. What type of game?
Okay, so it's going to be like a guess the teammate kind of game. So I'm going to give you a fun fact about one of your teammates, and you have to write down the name of who you think it is about.
Okay.
Okay. I have my questions ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready. And are they all different?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't read the fun facts on the Tennessee bios, do you?
No,
okay.
I don't.
That's where these are from.
Okay.
Which teammate enjoys building Legos on his free time?
Building Legos. I'm trying to think of whose house has Legos in it. This is a tough one already. I think when I went to his house, I think he's had Legos in it before. Okay.
Okay, ready? 3.
No, but yes.
2, 1. No.
Who was it?
Jacoby. 0 for 1. That's okay.
It's not great.
Which teammate wants to become a therapist after his basketball career?
See, this is therapy.
I thought these were kind of not easy, but
actually,
do you want a hint?
Who talks. Yeah, I'm getting a hint.
A freshman.
Definitely not Troy. It's got to be him then. No way, Dwayne. No, yeah, ooh, Clarence. No. Okay. Okay.
Final?
I'm just gonna rip it then.
Okay.
Rip it.
No.
See,
It was Dwayne.
Dwayne wants to be.
You said, and you even said.
No, I need to talk to Dwayne because Dwayne's in the locker room right now. I'm gonna talk to him after this. Wow. Okay. I guess I gotta get knowing my teammates better.
Which teammate has 3 siblings whose first names all start with the letter T?
3 siblings that start with the letter T. Not V. Does Troy? Troy's name starts with T, so it makes sense.
Go ahead. Yep. You got it right. Yeah. Okay. You got 3 more.
Okay.
Which teammate has to take a shower before every single game as a superstition?
Ooh, a lot of people do that. I do that. I mean, I've seen him do it. Okay, I'm just gonna go with this one.
Yeah. I forgot that's what you guys call it.
Let me cook.
Yep, that was good. And that was good. Which teammate reverse back squats 2.5 times his body weight?
2.5 times his body weight. Wait, no.
Second guessing?
Yeah. Wait, no, I was right, I think.
I think you should erase what you started with.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that was.
Just gonna give you a little hint.
Okay, I'm thinking about someone that's very light on our team that is pretty strong. No, it wasn't Gavin.
Bishop.
That makes sense. Well, I'm a terrible teammate.
This one is like a little bit of a trick question, just a heads up.
Okay.
Okay. Which teammate was born 11.7 pounds and 24 inches long?
Wait.
Yes!
I know about myself. I mean, just
You're
like you
welcome.
said, trick question, off a rip, I was thinking, okay, this might be about me, but I also am teammates with some pretty tall dudes, so
yeah.
I was thinking about it.
Well, I hope you had fun.
Did it, I had a blast.
That was a really, really fun time there with Emilie and with J.P. Estrella talking who he knows and who he doesn't know on his team, and some trick questions there. Although the point that he made about, well, I know I was a big baby, but I got a lot of big dudes on this team also, so it could have been. He's like, I think that's me, but I don't know.
Yeah, I was debating. I wasn't gonna say trick question if he was doing well, like for the rest of the answers and questions and stuff. But since he was kind of not getting all of them, I figured I'd throw him a bone.
The only one that surprised me that he didn't get was Boswell.
Yeah,
because Bishop he's a brick outhouse. Like that kid is like 6'3", 6'4", and just strong.
He said I should have got that one. Yeah,
that was the one that surprised me, but that's okay. And you got to sit down with Estrella for a while, and I think this is so interesting because I'm not just saying this because we're talking about him today, and you talked to him, for that story. I think he is legitimately one of the biggest X factors on this team because I think the ability that he has, the way that he could be playing, is a far cry from the way he is playing right now. And again, like we just call things as we see them here, and that's not a slight. That's saying, hey, this guy can do a lot. He's got such a bag of offensive moves to score, so much skill for a guy that size, coming back from a major injury, and then he got one right when he came back.
Two.
What did he say about sort of his headspace now and what it's been like?
Yeah, and it's no surprise that JP just always has the best attitude, even when he does have an off game. So I think that's why his coaches, his teammates always root for him. I mean, he got the one fly we all fly before the Kentucky game because they were expecting him to have a big game. I don't think he turned the ball over in that game. I think he did better than his 2 previous outings with Tennessee. But, it's just a mindset with him, I think. He has been through a lot since he's gotten to Tennessee and has had to overcome a lot of adversity. And I think his teammates and Rick Barnes has said time and time again that they just want more out of him and that he's capable of so much more. So I think they're trying to instill that confidence that, you always see on the outside, happy-go-lucky JP, but, I think they're constantly trying to just pour into him and bring out the JP that, they recruited and bring out the guy who's going to be able to help them win ball games.
Yeah, I think, and this is, for some perspective on this, Estrella is averaging 13.1 minutes per game.
Well,
in those 13.1 minutes, despite playing nowhere near as well as I think a lot of us know that he can play, in 13.1 minutes per game, he's averaging 8.8 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 0.7 assists. In 13 minutes, that is tremendous production. Now, there's obviously defending, which he's got to get better at, got to get a little more kind of laterally quick and aware and, be a better. There's things that he can and needs to do better because it's not just, if it was just about scoring
and minutes,
then that would be, that'd be playground ball. Like, there's more to this, especially when you play for a guy like Rick Barnes. But what does he think about the way he is playing right now and sort of the way he's, handling all this mentally? Because he is, as we all know, a fun-loving kid, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. But sometimes there's just a little bit of meanness I think you got to have.
Yeah, and there is no meanness associated with this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I asked him what he wants to improve on ahead of this interview was before the Kentucky loss, the heartbreaking loss that they ended up having. And I think a lot of players this season who have dealt with some kind of adversity, they've always gone back to leaning on their teammates. And I asked him about that. He said, they are the ones who keep me going. They're the ones who have, helped me through injuries and trying to bounce back. And they're trying to instill confidence within me because obviously when you go through a season-ending injury and then you start the season off with one as well. Obviously, he played those first 3 games scoring in double figures, and he had a great start to the season. Before that, I think it was a bone bruise on his knee. But I think he gave a really great answer about, this team is new. We've only got a few returning players from last season, but despite it being so new, they've poured into me, and they're trying to give me the confidence to get where I need to be.
Yeah, and I think there's also an interesting story there because, he and Cade Phillips are good friends.
Sure.
And Cade helped JP get through that deal last year, and now JP's having to do the same thing for Cade, who is out for the rest of the season after finally kind of getting that shoulder surgery that arguably he's needed for a couple years, finally got it done, and so he'll redshirt this year. So now I guess they can be fifth-year seniors at the same time.
Well, yeah, they get 2 more years together, which is nice because it's funny – not funny that they got injured, but I mean, it kind of worked out. JP got injured last season, and now he's redshirting. He redshirted, and then Cade Phillips is redshirting this season. So they're technically the same class again, which he said is a really great positive because they came in together, and now they get to have 2 extra years together. But he said, I asked him how he was dealing with it and how he helped him through it, and he said, I just told him I loved him and that I was here for him, and that he's going to be able to come out better on the other side. And, getting the surgery was I'm sure the smartest thing Cade Phillips could have done for his basketball career.
Yeah, and the only thing I have questions about, and we'll, at some point there will be a good time to ask this question is why wasn't it done sooner? Maybe they wanted to see, could it have been done in the offseason to avoid all this, or because he's been wearing that thing on his shoulder for a long time, going back to early last year. It's been there, but I can see an argument why they would say, okay, let's get you right to the line where you can redshirt or you can't. Like, let's get right on the south side of that line, and then if it's at a certain place, finish the season. If not, cut it back and, get it cut and fix it and go on. And I think I can understand that argument too. So I don't want to sit here and act like I know more than they do about medicine because full stop, I do not.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're
I'm
not
not
a lawyer
or a
not
doctor, barely a reporter. I'm a dad, technically, a decent one, I think, a husband, an okay one, I think. But other than that, this is just not much of anything. I don't think.
Hey, you got your own show, Wesley.
That's true. That is true. But I do think that when you think about what this Tennessee team is going through, again, it absolutely does not excuse the team being out of the top 25 for the first time in 4.5 years and for the first time in 91 polls. I think it doesn't excuse every loss except the Florida one. It doesn't excuse them finding ways to lose because they do have enough still, more than enough, I think. And I've said this, I'll keep saying it. I think there's a top 10 team in there if they play the way they're capable of playing. But I will say, if you want to be fair and look at the full perspective, I think you have to say, for the second year in a row, they had a front court in mind, the way they built it with the roster construction, and a big piece of it was gone. And that was Estrella last year, and really could have used his offense in the post last year. And now this year you're seeing without Phillips in there, some of the rebounding, some of the defense, it's not been as good. And I'm telling you, that's not an accident. That's not a coincidence. Without him being in there to protect some of the rim too, when Akpar is not in there, Phillips usually is at times because he can protect the rim. When they're both in there together, it's really hard to score on Tennessee in the paint. And he's not as offensively gifted as Estrella, but he's a better defender. And pound for pound, at times, he's a better rebounder. So they're adjusting to that. And that's why you're seeing Ament more at the 4. You're seeing some different combinations of things. And I think that doesn't excuse where they are because they still should have won all of those games except for Florida. But I think it's another reason why I say there's another level to this team, because once they figure out that puzzle, I think they're going to be better.
Yeah. You mentioned, I think, just some parts about this team also being really young and not knowing what to do in those game situations. And Rick Barnes, I'm sure he talked about it earlier this week, but saying that there's just not a lot of veteran presence and, rarely any, no 4th or 5th year guys on the team this year.
That have been with the program.
Yeah, right now. So he said one of those guys in that game that they would have no doubt, came out on the other end against Kentucky. So it's definitely interesting to kind of feel out how this team's going to be, because you've got fans on one side saying that, they're just not going to be the team that they were last season, and it just kind of adjusting and things like that. But at the same time, this is a completely different team. So I don't know what, people were really expecting. Also, JP, it's funny to think about JP being a returner and like a leader on this team too, because I feel like just yesterday he was a freshman and
he's still got kind of he's still kind of got a baby face. It's just packaged into a 7-foot frame.
For sure. But he said that him and Cade were kind of trying to adopt that Jemima Shack, Zakai Ziegler double duo leadership kind of guys who could lead the team in those certain situations. And, it hasn't really worked out in their favor this year. But
yeah, that's why, again, you always have to be careful how you phrase things, because people will take it and run with it and make it a thing. But I think you have to be able, if you want to be fair about things, you kind of have to walk and chew gum at the same time. There's 2 things you got to do. I think when I say I don't think it would be appropriate to give up on this team,
no,
that does not mean that what they have done to this point is acceptable. Those are 2 different things. I think you can say, yes, this team should have no more than 2 losses, maybe just 1 loss right now. It should be in the top 10, and it hadn't done that. And that is a concern. That's fine. You're absolutely right if you say that. Have they been frustrating to watch? Bet your tailpipe they have. They've been frustrating. But that does not mean, when you look at that and see frustration, I see that, but I also see, wait a minute, if they play a lot better, they're still right there in all these games, and they still could be winning them, and they could play significantly better than they are now. So what I'm saying is just, hey, you're right to be frustrated, but wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, and Rick Barnes has said time and time again, a lot of these guys have not been in the situation of that Kentucky game. They've never been in. JP told me the other day he thinks that the Texas A&M game was maybe the first overtime double, maybe just even overtime game that he's ever been a part of this Tennessee program.
Maybe.
He questioned himself on it. He was like, maybe, I think. He was like, Kate and I were kind of talking about it. But yeah, I mean, the experience level and playing in this conference is just no joke, obviously. It's the toughest conference in college basketball, but, well, yeah. And I don't know. I feel like...
is it Temple tough?
Always.
Just saying. I'm just asking.
We're number 1, baby. Number 1 in my heart always.
There you go. The Owls. No,
my Owls.
I think, yeah. I mean, there's, listen, and Emily, thanks for being here. I know you got to step out of here in just a second before we go to the second break, but thank you for doing that story. Thank you for making it entertaining and fun, because it was.
Yeah, and it's nice to break up the content, nice to just not sit down and ask questions and just kind of get something out of the players.
You got to throw a curveball in there occasionally, right?
Yeah.
These kids are human too, right? They like some foods, they don't like others. And
that was right up his alley too, right?
There's things they like. Some of them like Legos. I mean, there's all kinds of fun stories in there. We try to cover all of it: the good, the bad, the ugly, the unfortunate, all of it, right? That is what some people would call journalism.
It is hard hitting. Don't forget
hard hitting. And we're going to hit hard to the break here. How about that transition?
I don't know if it made sense.
Probably didn't. Well, now I'm a lot less confident. We're going to go into secret time here in just a second. Tom, are we ready to go to secret time yet? Then we're going to go there right now. Be back in just a second.
That was funny. Okay, can I go?
Yes, you may.
You
Oh my
are
gosh,
free.
is that on YouTube?
It's going to be.
Yeah, this is on YouTube. Your exit will be on YouTube as well.
Yes.
So enjoy.
Bye, YouTube.
So
I'm going to go eat my
Goodbye.
tortellini.
don't give any Philly salutes on your way out.
I won't. Go Owls. Temple Tough.
Temple Tough, Tuff tough. I mean, you got it right. I mean,
It was,
you know.
yeah.
I mean, I don't. Every time Emily comes in here, I have to make at least one Temple joke. Now, not some of the Temple jokes that are low hanging fruit that, my gosh, a lot of other people have made that I won't make. But
Sure.
you know, I mean, come on. Hey, we got limits here. But yes, the fact is that Emily, in addition to all the great work she did as a broadcast major and everything at Temple and interning for NFL Network and all that other stuff, also somehow in the midst of all that found time to be a Temple cheerleader. So it's you just gotta you gotta credit that. I imagine doing that. She was telling me one of these times when she gets in there, I'm ever tell the story about her senior year when she would get up at like 4:00 in the morning and go, do an internship job that she was doing with NFL Network, I think it was at the time, and then go into class and then go into, cheer practice afterward and then like having to do homework. And I'm like,
yeah,
that's why
that's a balancing act.
That's why she is prepared.
Yeah.
She is prepared. Of all of us,
30 away.
She is always like, I want notes. I want to know where this is going, and I'm prepared, because that's her brain. Whereas, Elijah and I are both like, come on, turn it on. We'll find something to talk about. We're good. Don't worry about it. Reminds me of doing radio with Swain. Used to be like that. It was just that prepared mindset and how we had completely different ideas. Welcome back to 10 at 3. Here on a Wednesday, January the 21st, 2026, sitting in here with Tom Barr, Clay now, Lord of the Streams, just me and just Tom, because Emily has gone to do some of the other work that it is that she needs to do. Because, as we mentioned earlier this week, we got a lot going on. And if I'm being honest here, if you can be one thing in this world, it should be honest, right? If you can only be one thing in this world, well, I would think it'd be a good person, but I would think honest falls under that category. So I'll say that
hand in hand there.
Yeah, do well and do good, right? That's sort of the point of all of this. But I have been known in the past few months to occasionally pester our weather team and be like, "Come on, at some point, let me get in the box and swing with you. Come on, I'm not going to be the one."
You aiming to be a Met?
Well, no, I don't. No, I don't want, and I don't need to be anywhere near like, okay, what's this model say? What's this going to do? What I'm saying is, once that has been presented and packaged and prepared, let me go out there and point at some numbers. Let me go out there and point and look, this is going. I just
guess what?
I want to go to the, but no, I want to go to like when I said that, I was thinking go up on the green screen and be an idiot. I was not thinking, and to be fair to them, I did not specify that do not be fooled by the beard. Do not be fooled by being raised basically on a farm. Do not be fooled by being raised in and around farms in this region of the country. I don't like cold weather.
Yeah, we've had this conversation a few times before.
I don't like it. I don't want to be in it. I don't want anything to do with it. And so if I go out there and if they put me on a camera and John or Robin or Todd or somebody asks, "So Wes, how you doing out there?" I'm going to say bad.
Oh, bundle up.
Still, I'm going to be out there saying, how am I doing personally? That's not maybe what you asked. Maybe you want to know about the people out here in the community, but I'll tell you on the front end, I don't like it. I do not care for it. But you know what? Maybe that'll make good TV. I don't know. Or maybe they'll be smart and have me nowhere near.
Surely find out.
Maybe they will. Maybe they'll they'll let discretion be the better part of valor there and say, why don't you just hold the camera and we'll have somebody else talk? Which I'm like, hey, if you want me doing that, you know the CV here, right? You got a better chance of me on the camera than running the camera. You got a better chance there. Neither one 100%, but behind the camera, the percentage, way worse. But yeah, we'll see. I might be trudging along. I'm sort of interested to see what region that I would get assigned, and then who I'd be going with. Because I mean, is this like, do I just go out there and like sled with some kids and have fun? Or
sometimes that. It just depends on what happens. And here's the thing:
if I get to do that,
the answer to that question probably will not be known until late Friday night, early Saturday.
That's true. It could be all for nothing. And honestly,
that's how it goes.
And honestly, this game in Tuscaloosa, I haven't looked at what their weather report is, but it's not like it's a million miles away from here. It's certainly south of here, and it certainly gets less winter weather typically than Knoxville does. But I mean, I think everybody's going to kind of be getting something here unless it changes.
The southern half of the U.S. is in for not a treat at all. I would say it's the opposite of a treat this weekend.
Yeah, and I think also the game is scheduled. This is a factor. It's scheduled to tip off at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Central, which means that, I mean, I'm not an expert here, but pretty sure it's going to be colder when the game ends than when the game starts. Pretty sure the roads would have a situation to be worse after the game than before the game. And so what at that point you're saying, okay, well, maybe you kind of have to play the game because Tennessee's just there anyway. They're already there. They'll have gotten there Friday, right? They'll have gotten there Friday. So do they just play the game and say, hey, we're encouraging you not to drive here, but if you're students, you're on campus, you want to walk over, that's cool. I don't, that's a game that, it's a big game, right? Tennessee and Alabama, two of the better programs in college basketball for the past, 7-8 years. Mm-hmm. And two big names, big rivals. Probably loses a tiny bit of luster with Tennessee just now falling out of the poll for the first time in like 5 years, basically. Still a big game. It's still one that ESPN's going to want big numbers from. And so they're going to want that played. Now, they don't 100% make the decision.
Whether it has a captive audience in the stands or not will be seen.
Yeah, like that.
But if they're able to safely commute to that, without needing to drive.
And if you're Tennessee, that could
happen.
I don't think it would be. I don't think it would even the scales from like Alabama maybe gets Bediako back, but I mean it would help a little bit if it's if it's one of those kind of basically a COVID era crowd or something that would Tennessee wouldn't mind that at all. But I mean they also like the TV networks make a lot of decisions and they have obviously a heavy amount of influence on this. But like with safety stuff, they can be overruled. They can be overruled by the league, by the schools. That they can. I mean, they would get in a room and make a decision, but it's not like baseball where you can just wait a day and play doubleheader the next day. It's not. I mean, I guess you could play if you needed to. You could say, okay, play it Friday night or play it Sunday or something like that could happen.
Yeah, but here's the thing: if it pans out as it's supposed to pan out, this is going to be probably a full-on week of disruption for folks, particularly in places like Texas, Alabama, Mississippi.
So you're saying off the top of your head that like something like a Friday night would be better than just even if play it 24 hours early and then move on.
You do it early.
Yeah,
that's the answer.
I don't know that's.
But it's still going to disrupt games regardless. I feel like.
Well, and it will not. We know it will not impact at least the Lady Vols' first game this week, hosting Kentucky. Big game. That's a couple of top 20 teams tomorrow at Food City Center. I think Elijah will be there for us on top of that one. So we'll be all over that one. And I would have loved to bring in Elijah tomorrow to preview that game, but because of scheduling snafus and stuff, we will have a fresh episode tomorrow, but it will be a mailbag one that we're going to record not long after this. we got a lot of things to prepare for the next coming days. So bear with us. You're going to get fresh content, but it's going to be a mailbag one. And if you're watching live and you want to jump in there with a question right now, is a good time to go do that. Go to Wes Rucker TBA on Twitter/X. Go to Wes Rucker on Blue Sky. You can also send stuff directly through Facebook other ways. Email. You want to get a question in there, get one in there, because we're going to record that in about 70 minutes. So heads up for people who are watching live. You got about 70 minutes to get in there to get in the queue for that. I think Shelby's going to be producing that one. So we will have fresh content tomorrow, but we won't have, Elijah in here talking about that game, which would have been the plan originally. So again, pardon our progress. It's please understand that we got a lot going on with schedules, and not a lot of people in this building got a lot to do potentially over the next 10 days. So, we're being good teammates here. We need to be. There is also some football news, by the way, before we get out of here. Jeremy George L., an offensive lineman from Knoxville Catholic High School, did last night. I guess if you're watching this live on Tuesday night or watching us live on Wednesday, it was Tuesday night, where he became the 28th commitment to Tennessee's 2026 class. This is a good story. This is a kid who had originally a walk-on offer for Tennessee. I think in October he was given they were like, hey, they saw enough here. We like you. We're not sure how much room the class has, but we definitely like you enough to be a walk-on. And obviously the way walk-ons work now a little bit different because NIL can cover some of that. And so it's a different world out there. In fact, that's how Deshaun Bishop got to Tennessee in the first place, was basically as a walk-on who they found ways because he was a local kid. NIL helped with the bill, and now he's a scholarship guy, and all that's good. But that's a back door. It can work. And I don't blame the kid for doing this. He didn't accept that walk-on offer immediately. He said, let's see where things go. Let's see who else maybe offers me. Let's see what's going on there. And things go the way they go in Tennessee's class. And signing day, the traditional signing day, which opens up next week, I guess, or in 2 weeks, that would be now almost everybody signs in December, right? That's how things are now. Tennessee's got 28 commits in this class. The first 27 have signed. So, but things go the way they go. Tennessee finds out that a spot's open up after some portal stuff, this and that. They have the numbers. So they go ahead and offer him. And at that point, he had an offer by MTSU and a whole bunch of FCS schools around the region. But Tennessee's always liked him. And the way college football works now, you got a scholarship to offer, you can go ahead and offer it. And then if it doesn't work out for either party, well, you can relook at things in a year. And that's kind of how the world works now. But this is a 6'5", 325-pound lineman. I'm pretty sure he's going to be slated as an inside offensive lineman. He played left guard at Catholic, and I think that's where I don't know if he's got the quickness to go out there on the edge. But I like his film. If you watch anyone that an SEC school is even considering offering, should have good film. You should be just demolishing a lot of the guys you're playing. That's. I'm not saying that just because you're doing that, that's all you need to do. But if you watch some of his huddle highlights, he's got some pretty fun pancakes on there. He's eye-hopping some dudes. He's ragdolling some of these dudes. He is just massacring them with pancakes, getting downfield, blocking people, hitting people, looks to play with a little bit of an edge. I think offensive line, I've said this many times, there is not a place in football, I think, that's harder to evaluate than offensive linemen. And the proof of that historically has been the NFL draft and the NFL level, because the NFL draft and NFL rosters are full of offensive linemen from small schools, because so many things go into making an offensive lineman. And physically, the way they are at 16 to 18 to where they are at 22, 23 could be miles different, because very few of these guys come in with the exact size and proportions that you want. Normally, it's a kid who's either too skinny and you're bulking him up, or a guy who's a little too chonky and they're trying to slim him down or change the ratio. You don't want to change the weight, but you want to change the way it's packaged. You know what I mean? And so those guys can take 2 or 3 years, and they're not doing much of anything, but they're getting better in practice. They're waiting behind a couple other guys, and then in 2 or 3 years, boom, they look like All-Americans. This does happen, and it happens more, I think, at offensive line than anywhere else. So I don't bat an eye when I look at offensive line recruiting. It's not that I don't care about stars. I like 5-star offensive tackles. By gosh, who doesn't? Tennessee's got one coming in Gabe Osenda. You like those guys. David Sanders Jr., you like that. That's good. But those guys, they're so hard to project. And so Tennessee taking this commitment, I mean, they've run the gamut here with these offensive linemen in this class, because they got 4 guys, and I think they've gone 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, 2-star in the 4 guys, I think. So it's like, hey, we'll take one of every shape and short. And then, hey, we'll end up seeing who is the best one out of that. And between that, also, they've also got 18 portal commitments so far, 17 of which are newcomers, or scholarship guys, I should say. So that's at least 45 new scholarship players for next season, maybe more because they're still looking in the portal. So, again, this is the world. More than half of the 85 scholarships on the team next year are going to be in their first year at Tennessee. And that sounds weird, but that's the world we live in now. So congratulations to Jeremy Georgel from Knoxville Catholic High School, which is, as everyone here should know, the greatest high school that exists in history.
A little biased, I feel.
I think it's empirically proven, honestly. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think that's been proven by science and history. I think.
Wow.
We'll double check that, but I'm pretty sure.
You got a ton of high schools out there, I think, that would beg to differ.
Yeah, but and they can say whatever they want. They can be wrong. This is a free country. They can be wrong all they want. But congratulations to Jeremy. That pipeline of Irishmen to Tennessee continues. They've put quite a lot of guys on that football roster the past few years. Congratulations to him. We'll follow all that. You'll see me again in 23 hours. Well, we'll have a lot of new information because we'll have fun, but it won't be a live show. So we'll be there, and we will see you in 23 hours.